This video is brought to you by Against the Flow of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is a book about Jake Fayard, a Marine veteran who is unhappy with the political machine running the state of Mississippi. He decides to fight the corruption from the inside. Jake will face more challenges than he ever has and will stand up for what he thinks is right. His notoriously hot temper will push him to the edge of murder, along with his friend and brother Kobe Barhanovich. Together, they will fight the system and give the power back to the citizens of Mississippi.
Against the Flow of Mississippi was written by Anthony Oksenholt and was published by Oksenholt Biloxi Publishing, LLC. A link to the book will be placed in the description below.
Yeah, this a revolution in our time. Everybody's fighting, change coming, yes. That's why it's an acronym for riot. Everybody has a voice. Don't you dare stay silent. If you say nothing, you are an accessory to violence.
They've had their say. Seems like they've had that kind of say around here for too long. Look, I had to stand up for myself alone. I went in there to remind them that somewhere in this world there's still a little law and order left. To let them know in the only kind of terms that their kind understand is that they can't bribe or threaten their way out of what they did. To let them do this to me and get away with it, and you give them the eternal right to do the same damn thing to any one of you.
Access 228, your host, Anthony Oksenholt, where we report the facts and we are not for sale. If you have a news story or something that's on your mind, please feel free to give us a call at 228-337-2099. Be glad to have you on. Thank you for listening, and we do appreciate all that you do to support us and keep free and independent journalism doing what we do best.
What the f?
Now you heard those shots, 3 shots fired in a crash, and then witnesses running to help. The woman who was shot died. Federal authorities say that driver was trying to run over an ICE agent. We're bringing you live team coverage.
And I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis.
You know, I've said many times on this channel, Anthony Oksenholt, Access 228, I've said many times on this channel that I am a violence professional. I am also a use of force, trained use of force expert. I will defend that. Anybody wants to try me, you got questions, I've got answers. What this video shows is excessive deadly force. The Minneapolis Police Department should have charged this ICE agent with murder. Clear-cut, probable cause, prima facie, it's there, it happened, it's caught on video. Why ain't this asshole being prosecuted? You discharged 3 fucking rounds into a car for trying to get away from you. Here are my questions. And I already know I would say 99% sure I know the answer to all the questions I'm fixing to ask here. Did you have a warrant? No. Because ICE thinks they don't need a fucking warrant. The 4th Amendment does not matter to Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Now, somebody else is dead because your fucking boss, the Cheeto in charge, the one that just fucking committed a fucking war crime in Venezuela, sent you out here to go play fiddle dicks. 2, where was your justification to discharge your firearm? Because I only saw one agent pull a weapon and discharge 3 rounds. I'm going to tell y'all, cops have the Grady Judd mentality. I'm actually 100% cool with Grady Judd, by the way. I respect that man. Met that man in person. Think he's a great guy. Some of the things he says gets on my nerves a little bit, but nobody's perfect. The mentality is this: if I'm getting my ass whipped, we all better be getting our ass whipped. That's how it works in law enforcement, y'all. If one of us is there, all of us better be there. I'm not saying it's right, I'm saying it's the truth. But for the only one officer, one agent, I guess they're not officers, I guess they're agents, to pull his weapon and discharge, tells me that he was on that. He was ready to kill that day. He was 100% ready to take a life. And willing and was going to take a life. He came to work. I'm going to kill this. I'm going to kill somebody today. That was what was going through his mind. I am going to kill somebody today. So he went and woke up, got a shower, brushed his teeth, combed his hair, scratched his ass, put his fucking tactical gear on, put his fucking duty belt on, put this fucking pistol in his fucking holster after he loaded it, made sure he had a full magazine and probably a couple of other ones. Usually they carry 3 full magazines. Then he went out there, he went to his briefing, and they're like, we're going to go to this particular section of town, and this is what we're going to do. And in his mind, he already knew, I'm going to take somebody's life today. I'm going to kill the first person that gives me the chance to kill them today because I'm on that bullshit. So what does he do? He goes into this neighborhood. He's got all of his ICE agent buddies with him. And they're probably pissed off because they're in Minneapolis, and I'll admit, been to Minneapolis many times. Minneapolis sucks. I wouldn't want to fucking be there. My job takes me there too. Thankfully, I'm currently in the South, so I'm okay. He goes in this neighborhood, and this woman, I believe it was a woman anyway, they go and they pull on her fucking door handle. Well, she drives away. Now they're saying that, oh, she tried to run over an ICE agent. I didn't see anybody in front of her car. I seen her perpendicular to the street, pull out, make a right, and was driving away. And this guy drew from the holster and discharged 3 rounds into her vehicle. I didn't notice anybody else pulling their firearm. Somebody watch this again and tell me if I missed it, because I don't think I did. Usually, a deadly force situation, we're all trained this way. I'm trained this way. If it is truly a deadly force situation, I promise you, I'll have my Glock out quick, son. And to prepare, I literally, this is how I train, I will stand in front of my mirror. I've got a full body mirror that I will stand in front of, and I'll see just how fast I can get it out and get ready to go to work. Empty gun, obviously. I'm not going to do it with a fucking loaded weapon inside my house, but I will make it safe, and it's just me, and I will draw against myself in the mirror just because I want to be fast if I need to be fast. I'm pretty goddamn fast. I can get it out in less than 2 seconds and go to work. from fully holstered with a Class 3 rig, which is probably what he was carrying, a Safari Land. It's what I carry. From fully holstered to discharging a round in less than 2 seconds. I can do that. I may be big, but y'all, I can move. Don't let all this fat fool you. I can still fucking move. And I train like this. Regularly. I train like this at the range, drawing from the hip, putting rounds down range. I do that. And I want to be as fast and accurate and smooth as possible. Now I know FLETC, which is probably where this asshole went to training at Quantico, I know they shoot upwards of 15,000 rounds a week, which is more than I shoot. I know this guy, if he passed FLETC, was very trained with his weapon and he knew exactly what he was going to do. He knew he was going to take that woman's life. Are we getting the picture now? I want to know if this woman had a warrant for her arrest for deportation. I doubt it. I really... Somebody fucking... I challenge any of y'all. Any of you internet sleuths. Prove me wrong. Prove me fucking wrong. Show me. Drop a link to a video. Drop a link to a PDF file. Show me that she had an active deportation order signed by a fucking judge stating that she was definitely identified and had everything going there. Show me. Because ICE ain't playing by those rules. They're snatching people off the street that don't look like me. If you're not white and you're not black, or if you're white and you may have an accent that's not an American accent, whatever an American accent is, and we have obviously several different accents in this country. Hell, I can't understand them fucking people up in the Midwest. Half of them. I can understand people from Boston better than I can up in the Midwest. Maybe it's because I got family in fucking New England, but... If you give any indication that you ain't from here, you might be facing trouble. Whether you are from here or not. I did a whole damn video on ICE agents snatching up people who were legal U.S. citizens. I just did a whole goddamn video on that. This is fucking tyranny. This is fucking tyranny. If somebody in that crowd would have pulled out a firearm and shot that guy while he had his pistol in his hand, my opinion is they would have been justified. Because they were defending a third party against a forcible felony. I firmly stand on that. Show me in documentation why I'm wrong. If this is the one time in several hundred that they actually had a deportation warrant signed by a judge, I'll correct my statements. And by the way, y'all, I know me making this video probably just killed any chance of me ever getting back into law enforcement. I don't give a shit. I do not care. I swore an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. That oath that I swore was never expiring. That oath expires when I do. And I'm not going anywhere any goddamn time soon. Trump and his policies are eventually going to get some of these ICE agents killed in the line of duty. And then it's going to be hands across America for these motherfuckers. When in my opinion, if I worked for ICE, you would have my fucking resignation today. You would have had my resignation the second that this policy started. Now, let's do the full press conference of what the mayor of Minneapolis said, because I agree with him. ICE, get the fuck out. And ICE, if you're in Mississippi, get the fuck out. Because I don't want you in my state either. You pull a gun on somebody, you fucking shoot somebody, you kill somebody, and it's not in self-defense, it's not justified under a use of force continuum, you are guilty of fucking first-degree murder. This officer, by all rights, if it goes to court, he should get the death penalty. Or at least life in prison if he pleads it down. And I'm not a proponent of the death penalty. He needs to be tried in state court in Minnesota. What is that? Hennepin County, I think is what it's called up there. That's where he needs to be tried at. Criminally. In state court. Maybe the mayor should reach out to the fucking prosecutor, the district attorney up there, and prefer charges on this son of a bitch. Get a grand jury indictment. Yeah, I'll make that shit stop. The only thing Trump's going to do is pardon him. But here's the beautiful thing. Trump be gone 2029, we hope. I still have my doubts on that if he'll peacefully step down. If fucking Vance don't get fucking elected in 2028, Trump's not going to step down peaceably. It's going to be worse than it was back in 2021. We're going to see some pretty nasty shit coming here. Y'all, let me explain something else to you. This is why we vote. This is why we have midterm elections coming up this fucking year. If your congressman or your senator, which all fucking congressmen are up for re-election this year. If your congressman is a maggot, get rid of his ass. Primary his ass. I don't care. You want a Republican there, but you don't want a maggot? Primary his ass. You can fucking run. Or vote Democrat or third party. This is where this is the year we send a message to Trump to say, you will fucking stop. And then in 2028, I wouldn't vote for JD fucking Vance. You know, I was in conversation with my mom. My mom will be 73 years old next month. And she's a lifelong Democrat. I don't agree with the Democratic Party. I think the Democrats are just as worthless as the fucking Republicans. I firmly believe that. I I just no. They're the flip side of the same counterfeit coin. But in conversation with her earlier today, we were discussing J.D. Vance, and she watches Washington a little more than I do because, she's just always paid attention. And to tell you where her head is, she actually campaigned for George McGovern in 72 in Massachusetts, where she was living at the time, the only state he carried. But she said J.D. Vance scares the shit out of her. I'm believing it. I like Trump less now than I did in his first term. I don't know if he's got dementia or if his narcissism is just that fucking severe. But the shit I'm seeing scares the fuck out of me, and I don't scare easy. I don't fear anybody that shits behind a pair of shoes. But the way this country's going, it's got me just a tad bit concerned. Let's watch the press conference.
Right now, and we collectively are going to do everything possible to get to the bottom of this, to get justice, and to make sure that there is an investigation that is conducted in full. But what we do know is that a 37-year-old woman is dead and that she was shot by ICE. We've dreaded this moment since the early stages of this ICE presence in Minneapolis. Not only is this a concern that we've had internally, we've been talking about it. They are not here to cause safety in this city. What they are doing is not to provide safety in America. What they are doing is causing chaos and distrust. They're ripping families apart. They're sowing chaos on our streets. And in this case, quite literally killing people. So they are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed. As soon as it happened and we learned of the incident, we had several priorities. The first, of course, was to get the victim to the hospital and to get care as soon as possible. To the family, I'm so deeply sorry. There's nothing that I can say right now that's going to make you or your relatives or the friends of the victim feel any better. There were, I believe, 2 Minneapolis police officers that responded and were in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. The second was to get ICE off of the scene. There were dozens, if not hundreds, of ICE and federal officers that were there at the time. Having them there was only causing more chaos. Having them there was only making a difficult situation even more problematic, and one that, yes, they created themselves. There's little I can say, again, that'll make this situation better, but I do have a message for our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. People are being hurt. Families are being ripped apart. Long-term Minneapolis residents that have contributed so greatly to our city, to our culture, to our economy are being terrorized, and now somebody is dead. That's on you. And it's also on you to leave. It's on you to make sure that further damage, further loss of life and injury is not done. We're going to be working towards justice as quickly as we possibly can right now, and justice is what we've all got to get. Next, a message to our community. Look, we all know that the agenda of this Trump administration is to create chaos. Let us respond right now with our best versions of self. This is a moment where all of us in Minneapolis and beyond, we can rise to the occasion. We can show them who we are. We can show them the kind of courage, bravery, love, and compassion that makes Minneapolis, Minneapolis, and that makes America, America. We are better than a bunch of ICE agents being deployed to cities around the country and ripping apart families and communities. We're better than that. And so we are going to meet that hate with love. We are going to meet that despair with hope. We are going to meet that injustice with constitutional justice ourselves. And we're going to make sure that in this very difficult moment, we do not take the bait that these ICE agents are trying to create and that the federal government, to be clear, wants. They want us to respond in a way that creates a military occupation in our city. They want an excuse to come in and show the kind of force that will create more chaos and more despair. Let's not let them. Let's rise to this occasion. Let's show them something far more beautiful than the kind of division that they're trying to stoke. Let's show them unity of purpose, of love, and the courage of our conviction. Our conviction, to be clear, is rock solid, and it is for our neighbors, all of our neighbors. It's for people who have lived here for 80 years. It is for new immigrants who have made this city a better place. That's the kind of love that we're going to show up with right now. If you're angry, I get it. I am too. If you're feeling that kind of despair, it's understandable. Let's show them who we can be. Let's show up with peace. To march, to protest, to hug one another, to love all the way with peace. Do not give them what they want. Finally, we've got a lot of work that needs to happen right now to make sure that, first, of course, the scene was secured as much as possible, that we were able to get the victim, now deceased, to the hospital. We've got a lot of work to do in the coming days. I want to thank our city enterprise for the work that they have done, but more importantly, what they're about to do, because this is going to be heavy and our city has been through a lot. We also know that we're prepared to do right for people. Among them is our chief of police. I'll invite him up.
My name is Brian O'Hara, B-R-I-A-N-O''H-A-R-A. I am the Minneapolis Police Chief. This morning, Minneapolis police officers received a report of federal law enforcement being involved in a deadly force incident, meaning shots had been fired. Minneapolis police officers responded to the scene. We arrived and found a woman with a gunshot wound to the head. Life-saving measures were performed at the scene, including CPR. The woman was transported to Hennepin County Medical Center, where she has since been pronounced deceased. The preliminary information that we have indicates that this woman was in her vehicle and was blocking the roadway on Portland Avenue, midway between 33rd Street and 34th Street in the city. At some point, a federal law enforcement officer approached her on foot, and the vehicle began to drive off. At least 2 shots were fired. The vehicle then crashed on the side of the roadway. Minneapolis police officers secured the crime scene and assisted in trying to preserve the evidence that is there. We have since turned over the scene both to the Federal Bureau of Investigation as well as the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, which will be conducting an investigation into this use of deadly force. I want to thank the mayor, city council president, other members of the city council, state legislators that were on the scene. This has been a very difficult time for everyone in the city. And this is obviously a very, very tragic situation where a woman has lost her life. That being said, in addition to this tragedy, which unfortunately we did predict, we were seriously concerned about further escalation from the scene. And I want to thank the elected officials that came themselves to help us prevent that from happening, as well as the individuals on that scene that remained peaceful and that abided by law enforcement instructions so that we could preserve that scene and ensure that a full and transparent investigation can take place. That being said, I just echo the mayor's comments that we ask that the community continue to call for peace. We understand people are going to be upset about what happened, and people are going to want to exercise their First Amendment rights. But please do so safely and lawfully to ensure that we do not have any further tragedy in this city or destruction. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, council members. Commissioner, I'll open it to questions.
Any idea on the identity of the ICE officer who fired the shots at this point?
I don't have that information, no. The question was, is there an identity of the ICE officer that fired? I do not have that.
Here, we're hearing the ICE officer stopped a position from helping the lady who was shot. Is that true? We've seen videos all over social media that someone tried to help this lady, and they were told, they were pointing guns at and told to get away. Do you know about that at all?
So the question was, there's information out there that people tried to help the woman that was shot, and ICE officers then pointed guns at them and told them to leave. I do not have that information. I myself saw a video of the shots being fired as the car was driving away. What I can tell you is the narrative that this was just done in self-defense is a garbage narrative. That is not true. It has no truth. And it needs to be stated very clearly, since we have already seen a video of it. I do not know as to what you're talking about.
So, Mayor, she wasn't driving.
Over here.
She wasn't driving the car toward him, using her vehicle as a weapon.
That does not appear to be the case at all.
What's the city's protocol when an observer or an activist calls 911? They say an agent's phone or an agent's pointing a gun at them. How does the city of Minneapolis handle that situation before considering it?
Repeat it one more time. I missed the first part of what you said. And I'll turn it over to the chief. Yeah.
What does the city do when someone calls 911 and a federal agent's
Oh, I see.
gun at
Yeah.
them? That sort of thing.
I'll turn it over to the chief. The question is, what does someone do when a federal agent is pointing a gun at them? Chief.
So, if I heard you correctly, the question is about when people call 911, what is the city's protocol in these situations? We've had a very dramatic increase in 911 calls related to this activity. We have a protocol in place that has been evolving as the situation has been changing. And at this time, there is a designated supervisor that is on duty 24/7 that fields those calls. And we do everything that we can to ensure that they are appropriately prioritized, with the priority being placed upon the protection of life and safety of everyone in the community.
Can you tell us any more about the woman who was fatally shot? Was she there as a legal observer, protester, bystander? What do you know that you can share?
So the question was, what can I share about the deceased? There is nothing to indicate that this woman was the target of any law enforcement investigation or activity. This woman was in her car, and it appears then blocking the street because of the presence of federal law enforcement, which is obviously something that has been happening not just in Minneapolis, but around the country. She appears to be a middle-aged white woman.
Chief, just about a month ago, you said these unplanned and questionable tactics by federal agents would result in someone being killed at a press conference right here. Do you consider today's tactics in line with that, or do you just have a generic response to the fact that somebody is now dead?
The question is that I had previously made several statements about being concerned about the tactics being employed. I am obviously very concerned that I have been told that a woman who was sitting in her car blocking the street and not the target of any enforcement activity is now deceased. However, I do not know, to be clear, I do not know the exact circumstances of the shooting, but I would tell you in any professional law enforcement agency in the country, I think they would tell you it's obviously very concerning whenever there's a shooting into a vehicle of someone who's not armed. But it also is something that is possible. At times, it is justified. But it is very concerning, and it's something that most law enforcement agencies in the country train very intensely to try and minimize the risk that law enforcement officers get placed into a situation that the need for deadly force would be necessary.
Has there been any indication of that in this case?
I didn't hear the question, I'm sorry.
Has there been any indication of the need to shoot into the vehicle?
The question was any indication about the need. I guess getting back to the justification of this, I have not seen any information other than what I have communicated.
Was she alone in the car? Were there children in the car with her?
The question was if she was alone in the car. I know that I got there shortly after this call came in. I did not see anyone else with her while I was on the scene. However, I've since been told by our officers that have been with her the entire time that a spouse has arrived at the hospital.
Mayor, just curious if you're thinking about contacting federal authorities to register your concerns about this, personally making phone calls, et cetera.
Yes, we've been on the phone all morning. As soon as we learned about this, again, there were a series of priorities that we needed to go through. The first, of course, is to keep people safe and to help the victim in any way that we could. The second was to get ICE off of the scene. There was the notion that ICE agents would be necessary to create a perimeter around the scene itself. They themselves were creating the kind of dysfunction and chaos that they claimed to be trying to help with. And so the message that we delivered very clearly was to make them leave. Now, beyond leaving the scene, they should also leave our city and our state. You know, we do work, our chief does work, our sheriff does work every single day to keep people safe in our city and in our state. And crime is dramatically down. Crime is down. It continues to trend down. They are doing the hard work of investigating, of arresting perpetrators of violent crime. What this federal administration is doing right now is not about creating safety. Do not let them tell you that what they are doing is about creating safety. It is not. It is having the opposite impact. We need to be clear-eyed about the work that is moving forward, and they need to leave Minneapolis.
We have time for one or two more questions.
Mayor, you may know this with your legal background. If this shooting is found to not be justified, does the city have any legal, or the state rather, have any legal recourse to bring charges against this ICE agent, given that this person is a federal agent? if the feds don't?
So obviously, and I have to always lead with this caveat because it is true, an investigation still does need to be conducted. I had my perception of what took place based on the vehicle and the vehicle's positioning. It does not appear that the individual is trying to ram anybody. Now, the question was, if it is in fact found to be an unjustified shooting, who issues the charge, who prosecutes, how does justice take place? I don't know the answer in full to that. This is obviously information that we're still working out. Chief, do you have any additional information, or Commissioner? Yeah.
The only thing I would add to the mayor's statement is that the crime scene was held by the Minneapolis Police Department, and the investigation is now being led jointly by the Federal Bureau of Investigation as well as the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. And the purpose of their involvement would be to investigate whether any state laws within the state of Minnesota have been violated.
One more. Can I just add something to that too? What's very important is that for our communities that we do have some kind of part in this investigation. It needs to be done on a local level. With all due respect to the federal level, we do need to make sure that our local agencies are involved. Most certainly the BCA is very well capable of working with our federal partners in doing so. That is something that is needed for our communities, and so that's something that I can tell you that there's already been conversations from the U.S. Attorney's Office to the BCA that have already taken place today. How that's going to roll out, we don't know yet, but we are making sure that there is some kind of local entity, namely the BCA, that has a part in this investigation for the purposes of transparency and expedient transparency as to what happened today.
One more.
Sorry.
If that's it. Thank you, everybody.
Final piece. Yeah. Again, thank you everybody for coming. Thank you to the media for being here and disseminating this very important information around this tragic incident. To reiterate a final message to our community members, I understand the anger. Let's unite around hope and love and peace and getting justice. That's what we need to be doing right now. I appreciate the service from everybody up here as well as the 435,000 people that call Minneapolis home. Thank you.
Got some housekeeping.
All right, that was the end of a press conference, a joint press conference with city leaders, Mayor Jacob Frey, Police Chief Brian O'Hara, Hennepin County Sheriff Dewana Witt as well, speaking out on this incident this morning.
Right. What we have learned is a 37-year-old woman was shot by ICE. She had a gunshot wound to the head. We understand that her spouse is now at the hospital there.
Yes.
Nothing to indicate, according to law enforcement, according to the police chief, that she was the target of any law enforcement activity. We have heard from people on the scene. They believe she was a legal observer there. What we heard from Police Chief O'Hara, because we are getting conflicting reports about what happened prior to the shooting. He says that she was in a car blocking Portland between 34th and 35th because of the presence of ICE agents. They said the law enforcement officer, the ICE agent, approached her on foot and the vehicle began to drive off. 2 shots were fired. Then the car crashed. He says he doesn't know the details of the shooting, but he did give that information out there. This is now all being turned over to the FBI and to the BCA.